Now, Phillip Rivers going to the Indianapolis Colts just plays right into the hands to your prediction. But I want you to repeat that because it's your fantasy goal that you're spinning out there, Rumpelstiltskin. So why don't you tell us about Phillip Rivers and the impact that you think he could have not only in the passing game but with Nyheim Hines specifically.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Brady at the top of the show and how Brady can't move. Phillip Rivers is slower than Brady. He can't move. He's like negative speed basically. He's like backwards.
The first year I did the almanac, by the way, the fantasy football almanac, which is going to be out after the draft. The first year I did it, the only quarterback to average negative yards per attempt was Phillip Rivers, and I just laughed because everybody else was at least 1 yard. Even Brady had like 3 yards per attempt. Phillip Rivers was negative. But anyway, please continue.
Yeah, he can't move, and what happens is in a study that I've done, looking at a lot of statistics, is basically looking at when you have a non-mobile quarterback, they throw to the running backs way more often. I even heard an interview earlier today on a podcast with Austin Ekeler, and he even mentioned the fact that how he's going to receive probably less dump-offs because Tyrod Taylor is going to be the quarterback there for right now for the Chargers. So it's like this is something that like just schematically is just a fact. Like Phillip Rivers is going to throw the ball more to his running backs because he can't move. Like he's not going to try to scramble. And we saw it with Austin Ekeler last year. And we've seen it with all of his running backs. All of his running backs have been even guys like Melvin Gordon, who's I think Melvin Gordon is a good pass catching back too, but like he was able to basically have Melvin Gordon and Austin Ekeler be both the passing game.
Yeah.
So where I look at Nyheim Hines hasn't really done a lot, but from a statistical standpoint, he's really been a really good pass catching back. He just really hasn't gotten a lot of touches. So a matter of them building more touches around him, I think that the Colts offense could really use a guy like him to even pair with a Marlon Mack. And basically the way I look at it is behind that offensive line, that's probably the number one offensive line in the NFL in Indianapolis. Every draft I'm in at this point, like I want to either have Marlon Mack or I want to have Nyheim Hines. I just want to get a piece of one because one of them is going to have a good year. Behind that O-line with a guy that heavily targets running backs in the passing game, I can't see, unless they both get hurt and then it's another running back on the Colts, it's not a bad strategy to have a running back behind Indianapolis' O-line with a quarterback like Phillip Rivers, who has shown a lot of fantasy friendliness towards the running back position.
I agree. Now I'm a big believer in Marlon Mack. Mack, what was it, 2 years ago? Whenever he really broke out, it was the year that the Colts went on a crazy run. I think it was Frank Reich's first year, and Marlon Mack played the first game, was out for like the next 4, and the Colts started like 1-6 or 2-6 or something like that, and they went on their run. The run started for Andrew Luck and that team when Marlon Mack came back because he was the only guy that could be stable and actually get yards per attempt or yards per carry reasonable. Now, I could see this backfield being very similar to last year's Chargers team. Really. I mean, they have the talent. I think Mack, I know they don't utilize him. That's one of the things that when we were kind of, going back and forth with Nyheim Hines in our last episode, is one of the things I kind of discovered and going through the almanac this year as well, is you're right. I mean, Marlon Mack, although he can catch and he has filled that role, he's not really doing that for the Colts. I don't think that's what Frank Reich has envisioned for him. And I think Nyheim Hines could step up into that role. Now, I could see as well, maybe Indianapolis making a splash. I mean, with one of these running backs are going to fall in the draft. Maybe they draft somebody else and give him some push. That's the only liability I could see for Nyheim Hines, is that maybe they bring like somebody in the draft that could supplant him in the depth chart. But either way, I like this. I like both running backs' production, just like I like both Gordon and Ekeler for the Chargers last year. And an interesting thing, too, is obviously I like T.Y. Hilton just fine, but I think that Jack Doyle, I mean, Phillip Rivers likes hitting his tight ends as well. He had Antonio Gates, he had Austin Hooper. Doyle could be a really nice guy in this system as well. So we'll see how that pans out.